Hey, this is Tilak. Welcome back to our fast formula tutorial. Last week, we completed our GSP, Great Step Progression fast formula tutorial. In this session, we are going to look at workforce compensation. We are going to start with the new product or a new application, new module, whatever you call it. The short letter of that is CWP. Originally, it's called compensation workbench. Now the Oracle changed the name to workforce compensation. I use this name interchangeably. Sometimes I use it workforce compensation or workforce workbench or CWP. Either way, it means the same. Okay. This product supports almost 6 formula types: participation rate eligibility, that we've seen it more than 3 times. We've seen them in that beginner tutorial, TCS, total compensation statement tutorial, GSP, that Great Step Progression tutorial. We've seen that and the rate eligibility. And CWP also used that the rate eligibility fast formula type, which is coming from benefit. And the compensation person selection, the same thing it goes. It belongs to that compensation family. The type belongs to the compensation family. It is used by all the products in compensation, whether it's a TCS, GSP, CWP, everything is used as a person selection. We are also going to see that. Then there's a compensation default access level, and what kind of access you have it. Whether you have access, you don't have access, read-only access, or read and write access, that is determined by that default access level fast formula. Again, the hierarchy determination, what kind of hierarchy you want it. Okay, there are the hierarchy is available with, I think, a positional or a managerial hierarchy. If you don't want to use it, you want to use a kind of a customized hierarchy level, you can use that hierarchy determination fast formula. By this, I think either you return a person ID or a assignment ID or assignment number, person number. We'll see that detail when you are looking at that formula. And the currency selection, you can you can select the currency. There are different currencies available. I think corporate currency or that compensation plan level, you can define the currency. Here, basically, you can change the currency with some conditional or you can customize it, basically, the correction. You can give every person different currency, something like that, you can give it. And the compensation default and override formula, this is one of the most important fast formula. After that, okay, if you see that mostly it is that the use fast formulas are eligibility, person selections, and the default and override. That the default and override is the most important fast formula in CWP. We are going to look at that in detail. Okay, today we will see that the eligibility fast formula, which is coming from benefit. Okay, we have seen this screen more than many times, and this is that the context which is supported by the eligibility fast formula. But when it is called from CWP, that does not pass all the context. CWP nothing to do with what you call it, letter ID, option ID, plan ID, and all the stuff. So it uses effective date, assignment, term, job, legislative, payroll assignment ID, payroll relationship ID, payroll team ID. I think that date and also I support because the effective date and is same, but you can use that. The effective date or date and is fine, the same information it is. Probably I might have not mentioned person ID also, probably will get it. Okay. This is what you get it from compensation when it calls that eligibility as a context. The second, now we see what are the input values available. You will get a start date, you will get an end date, you get a plan date, period ID. I'll come back to the component ID. eligibility date, extraction date, performance date, promotion date, and exchange rate. The eligibility formulas used in two places. One is in a plan level, other one is in a component level. When that eligibility is attached to the component level, you get the component ID. When the eligibility is attached in a plan level, the component ID is not passed. So in case if you are writing a same formula for both, then you have to handle that part, because if you are trying to use the component ID in the formula, either you are printing it or logging the information, then it may error because it doesn't have a value. So you have to handle it. I'll show you how to handle it when we are writing the first formula. Return value, we've seen that it supports only one variable, a specific variable called eligible in a capital letters, ELIGIBLE, eligible capital letters. If you use any other variable, it is going to return. The value is supposed to be YRN, is a mistake, is a typo. So YRN, okay. Now, what are we going to do? If we were writing a first formula, I'll tell, okay, I'm not going to get into the detail of how that eligibility works, because we have seen it more than one time. So my logic will be smaller. I'm going to write a logic. If a person is working in that organization for more than a year, the person is eligible. Otherwise, he is not eligible. So in this first formula, I'm going to show how you are going to use that, what's that called, context, and how you are going to use the input values. There's not much detail in the logic because we have seen it many times. So probably if you are following my tutorials, you know that it is covered more than one time. Okay, let's get into the first formula. Okay, as usual, we use that compensation page to move into first formula. We go to that the common configuration, then first formula. We are going to first formula. We are creating a new first formula called CWB, okay, or CWB Eligibility. Okay, and it is participation eligibility. So I'm pressing P, so it goes to the P, participation and rate eligibility. As usually, I'm using a 1/1/2000. Okay. If you want to know why I'm doing it, you have to start from my beginner's tutorial of first formula. Okay. Well, I'm going here. Now I don't need this area because I'm not using much of database items. So I'm giving it FF CWB Eligibility formula. You can say type. I say usually type is participation and rate eligibility. I just copy and paste it. And the purpose is, okay, purpose is make the person eligible, make the person eligible, person eligible if he worked, if the person, not he, if the person worked more than a year. Okay. So basically, if a person has worked in the organization more than a year. So how do you know he worked in the organization? So I have to get his starting date. There are many ways you can get a starting date. I use that enterprise hire date. So I use that enterprise hire. You can look at a database item called hire, and probably you get like an original hire. There are different hire date you get it. You can take whichever you like to have it. So I am also going to use a database item called person name, so I can print it what is a person I'm dealing with that. So you know that by person. You can use the person ID, assignment ID, everything you can use it. Okay. Now what do I know? I have to use all my input values. Okay, I'm just copying and pasting from that whichever test I'll explain to you what I did that. Okay. Okay. Now the inputs are start date, text. Okay, I believe that CWP passed the date as a text, not as a date. But when you are going to TCS, they are passing it as a dates. Okay, here I am using a text. Then you can convert them into a date. So all the dates I am putting as a text. Okay, that plan start date, plan end date, eligible date, extraction date, performance date, promotion date, exchange date. Okay, now then you are coming to the ID, plan ID, probably this is a period ID, that's that. Okay, plan ID, then we are coming to that period ID, then basically component ID, we are having it here. Okay, here there are two pages, one is that the required column, one is a non-required column. There are few of that the dates are required. For example, start date, end date, you need to have it. I believe the extraction date also need it, eligible date you may not need that. The same way the component ID. I explained that why the component ID is optional, because if the eligibility is attached to the component, then the component ID is required. If it is attached to the plan level, the component ID is optional. How do I handle that? Okay. Now what happened is, for example, assume that I'm going to write this into a log. I just copy and paste that whatever the log I want it. Assume that this is what I'm going to do at the end. I'm going to write all this log into all these dates into the log. Okay. Now what happened? If this is not passed, what happened? So it is going to throw the error. So I have to handle them. How do I handle that? I just give them a default value. So whichever I believe that as an optional, I am going to give them a default value. If I am giving you a default value, what happened was if the value is not passed in, that became like it worked like a variable with a default value. Okay, this is what I do. The component ID is optional. I know that I am giving -1, eligible date, performance date, promotion date, exchange date. All these are optional column. It may have, may not have it. So I am giving you some kind of a default value to that. Okay. In case if you are converting the dates into a real date, make sure they are not empty space, or you can say if that variable was not defaulted, then you do convert them into a different variable. For example, you can say date, performance date as a variable. Define with some kind of a null, some empty date, or like you say that date is only available if you are converting that into the input value into that once if the date was not defaulted, something like that you can put that. Okay. Okay. Now I also going to write a little more logs. I'm coming to the log now. So now you know how do I handle the default to the variable. I'm just putting a star, so I know that in the log, I put a proper name. Okay, I put a proper name to that. Okay, CWB Eligibility, that is my this one. Okay, log, that's fine. Okay, then I'm getting that context of from the effective date. I'm getting the person ID, assignment ID, all the three. I'm getting that. Then I'm also going to log the three variables. So I got my assignment ID, person ID, and the effective date. I am logging that. Okay. I can also log the full name. Okay. So full name is coming from database ID. I am getting the person full name. So basically, effective date, person ID, assignment ID, full name, then all the input values. So plan ID, start date, everything is logged into that. Now I logged all my input value. Now let me start that logic. Logic is very simple. Eligible, by default I am starting with the person is not there. That is a default value. I'm telling, like, I also log that the date, which is enterprise date. Since it's a date, so I'm converting them into a char string, then I'm logging that into that. Okay, I'm logging that value. So you know that. Okay. Now if I say if days between, that basically take the first date minus the second date. My first date is my current date is effective date. Okay, my days between this one higher date is greater than equal to 365, then what happen is it is eligible, and okay, eligible Y. Okay, I can log that information also. The eligible says, no, I'm not doing that, because by looking at the date, by looking at these two dates, I know that whether it's going to be eligible or not. Then the logic is over. Then I'm going to return the variable. Okay, when I'm going to say return, I'm going to say what is to be returned. Okay, my out log is going to say log, the leaving. The formula name is eligiff, I'm returning that. Okay, returning that, eligible returning, eligible variable is returned. So it is returned. Now you know that the simple logic here. Basically, I am defining my DBAs, defining my default, I'm giving a default to all these like optional input values, and I'm logging every information. And if a person, and I'm using the hire date as a DBA, which is enterprise hiring date. If he is in the enterprise more than a year, then the person is eligible. Simple. Then I'm coming out. This is very simple first formula. Let me save, submit, and compile. Okay, it is compiled. Fine. Okay, I'm looking at here. Let's okay, eligibility test. This is what we are going to use it. Now we attach that into a eligibility, or we create a eligibility. We can attach that. I already have eligibility. I'm coming to the eligibility. I'm in the same common section. You can also find the eligibility profile. I already have eligibility. I just change whatever that is there. Okay, eligibility test is there. Okay, I'm going to others, and there's a past formula. I'm just changing that. Okay. I'm changing that to eligiff. Okay. I'm saving it. I'm closing it. Okay. Now what I'm going to do here is I have to attach this into a CWB plan. Okay. Now I already did that, but I'm showing you where I am attaching that. Okay. Compensation plan. I think it is FF, I believe. FF formula. Okay, this is the FF test formula. If you go to the eligibility area, you can go here, and you can see that FF eligibility test is attached. Okay, the required is only you are using it if there is more than one. Anyway, we are not going to get into that. Now, what I do here is, since the plan is already run, I just roll back the whole thing. Then I run it again. I'll show you this one. Okay, I'm going here, run batch, because that probably already ran. So what I do here is I back out that CWP1, CWP test full backout period. I go for a full backout. I submit that. Okay, I'm going back. Okay, I'm starting the process. CWP test. We have only one period. I'm running it for only one person. Okay, I'm running it only for, you can include the test statement if you want. So open, okay, submit again. Okay, I'm refreshing it here. Into hierarchy, because it is processed in the child threads, not in the parent thread. Okay. It is running. It's getting ready. Okay, it is passed. So with the parent thread process, the child started running it. Okay. Succeeded. Okay, then the parent thread does its own process. So now all I do here is I just I click on that this one. I go here. I take. Okay, I'm looking at the log here. Okay, I'm looking at the log here. The log says, okay, that basically you are entering into the first formula. Effective date is 1/1. That is whatever the date is, that start date is effective date. Person ID this one. Full name is tabby, whatever the name is there. The plan ID is there. Okay, component ID is -1 because it is attached to the plan level. If you are attaching the eligibility in component, that you will get a component ID. Then every other date is coming. The person is joined 2005, so the person is eligible. It is returning it. Since it is eligible, the further the process is happening here. So this is how the eligibility works. So you can attach into the component. I'm not getting into that. The same formula you can attach into the component. That works. Okay. There's no point of explaining the same formula twice. The component level 1. If you know CWP, you know where to attach it. Okay. By this, I'm concluding that eligibility for that CWP. If you have any question, please let me know. If you have any question on the formula or any other formula, you can ask me. Well, I attach this. This is a small fast formula. Though it is small, I'll create I'll put that into my blog and give that link in the description to the blog. That's it. I'll see you next time with another formula in CWP. Bye.